Hello and happy holidays. This is founder Layron with Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to go over some combat. This is a themed encounter that is set up around these winter wolves. I'm just calling it the Winter Wolf Assault. These are a pack of wolves that are indigenous to the region. This is a snowy, mountainous / subarctic area. And there are 5 characters that I'm going to introduce. And I'm also going to show you more of a practice way to set this up. So right now the wolves are already on the combat tracker. They're not visible. And the player characters are on the combat tracker. So if for some reason you lose your map or you didn't shortcut it, you can double click on the token on the left hand side on the combat tracker on any one of your players if you own them. And it will bring up the map that they were on. So fortunately, I had put them on the map, but I also made a shortcut on the bottom here where all the shortcut keys so that I can make sure that I'm able to bring up the map so I don't get lost. Another thing I've done is I pinned the encounter to the map. So this is the encounter with 2 direwolves and a winter wolf. So that's basically our adversaries here. There's a chasm here with some water down below. It's probably about a 35-40 foot drop, or at least so to speak, maybe 50. I don't know how deep the water is, but it's ice cold. If someone falls down there, they don't have very long to live. So that's how this is set up. There's a rickety wooden bridge that's made with rope and wood that goes across. You can't have more than 2 people on it at a time as far as width goes, so it's kind of a choking point. The wolves are kind of spread out for tactical reasons in case somebody has a fireball or something. So I kind of spread them out just in case. And then the other thing is you have these clouds and such and snow on here. I kind of have it all over the map, but if I wanted to isolate that, I can unlock the map and just have it focused around the actual map itself. And I'm going to go ahead and use this little toggle toolbar, and that will spread the map out to zoom to fit it to recenter it. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure all the players are on the combat tracker and they are on the map and the NPCs. So that's the first thing you need to do when you first start an encounter. The next thing is to take and do initiative scores. So the wolves have already rolled theirs. So when I added them from the encounter to the combat tracker, it auto-rolled for theirs. They all go on different numbers. Since I don't have players attached, I'm going to go to Menu, Initiative, and then I'm going to roll just for the PCs. So when I do so, it reshuffles the list. So I'm going to go again, Menu, go to Initiative, and then go to Roll PC Initiatives. And that reshuffles the deck. And I'm going to click up on the top left, and that will select the first combatant that gets to go, provided that you don't have a surprise round. Now, if you notice, the map moved over to accommodate the fact that this wolf was going. So the map auto moves or auto centers on that. If you want to turn that off, first I'm going to recenter the map. And as a player, that'd probably be okay, but as a DM, it might drive you nuts. So I'm going to go into the options. I'm going to turn off the turn auto center map. So if I turn that off, it's not going to do that for me anymore. Players also have to set that if they want to keep that from happening. I want the map to stay generally centered. If I want to move it, I'll move it. I don't want Fantasy Grounds to move it for me. So I have a direwolf right now that's going to go first. So I'm going to assume there's no surprise round. The players have a horde of orcs behind them, or some kind of creatures that are lumbering their way. So they have to make it across here. What happens, though, is they notice that there's some activity across the way. There's some dire wolves and such, so they have to make a hard choice. It's either face these 3 guys and cross this narrow bridge, or potentially be captured or slaughtered. So they don't have a whole lot of choices here. So they're going to decide to go across the bridge. They've got about 10 rounds to make it before the horde gets to them. So they got maybe a couple minutes ahead. So that is going to be something that you want to try to keep in mind is, what the urgency is and that sort of thing. So right now, to the party members, these 3 wolves are not exactly visible yet. And if you look at their stat blocks, they actually have a camouflage type thing going on. So especially the winter wolf. The dire wolf's not so much. So they might notice the winter wolf, but maybe not the dire wolf. So if I bring up the winter wolf or vice versa, they have snow camouflage, so the wolf has advantage on dexterity stealth checks. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that now just to see what happens. So I'm going to drag and drop it into the dice tower. And it looks like he rolled a total of 5, so I'm pretty sure he was spotted. Most of the characters in this group have a perception score of 10 or higher, so he's not hidden. So that's in the favor of the players. Another thing is I'm going to reveal all 3 of them by clicking on this little eyeball in the top left corner. What that does is it reveals the whole group as one big group instead of one at a time. This is a large creature, so it's going to take up 4 squares. And these guys are pretty large size too. So when you're placing them, you want them to actually be at the vertice of the squares, not halfway in a square. You want it where the crosshairs are. That's the right way to do that for a large creature. On the players down below here, this is kind of their marching order. You have Lord Gallimar, he's a paladin. You have Shayra, she's a sorceress, I believe a storm sorceress. You have Dorig, he's a 3rd level cleric. I believe he's either a forge cleric or a life cleric. You have Zayla Truesong, she's a half-elf bard. And then you have Figgin, he's a rogue. So you got these 5 players. They're all 3rd level. This is what the players would be playing if I had any attached to the table. So that's that. The next thing I'm going to do is start running the combat. And I've got everything kind of set up ahead of time. But I just want to let you know I created the encounter myself. I just built an encounter, drug some NPCs on it, swapped the tokens out. Another thing I did is I placed all of the stat blocks and the character sheets on the left-hand side next to the combat tracker that's right of the combat tracker. And the reason I do that is because when you click on these little links on the right-hand side, you can easily bring up the character sheets and the NPC stat blocks, and they're not going to cover anything. So when it comes to one of their turns that they're going to be taking, and you click on one of these tokens or one of these shortcut links, it's going to bring them up to the surface of the window view. And this is very handy if you have a small screen. You're trying to use the real estate as best you can. So I have the map where I want it. I have all the NPC sheets where I want it. And if I actually close this and I bring it back up, it's going to go where I left it. So the key is to get everything placed ahead of time. And then when you want it out of your way, you just close it. So if I close all these character sheets and NPC stat blocks, they'll come up again in the same place that I left them. So that's one of the things that will help you a lot when you're running encounters or you're managing windows in the Fantasy Grounds Unity interface. This is also true of Classic. So the dire wolf number 2, which is the one on the left, gets to go first. So looking at their stat block here in the combat tracker, they can move up to 50 feet. So I'm going to make this wolf move over here manually. I'm going to hold down the Alt key because as the game master, I want to keep track of how much he moves. I can just move it, but I want to actually have Fantasy Grounds count off the number of squares. If you go into the options menu before you start your combat, and you come down here in the very bottom, and these are the house rules and such, what you'll notice is that there is a diagonal distance. Standard just counts it as you go. Variant will count every other square as 10 feet, which is a lot more accurate. And then you have the raw data, which will count every little movement. So that's a different movement form. So I'm going to have it on variant. That way I'm not kind of cheating, I guess, when you move diagonally. So he's going to move forward. So he lifts his head up and he howls and he alerts the others. He smells the the party members coming before they even get there. And he's going to just bolt across the bridge and try to attack. He's going to plug the hole basically up here. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and drag this token, and it should count it out. So if I see, that's on raw. See where it says 17.7? So that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the X, which will unapprove the movement. I'm going to go back into the options. I want to change it to the, not raw, but I want it on variant. There we go. So now when I move him, it's not so crazy. So let's see. Hopefully these guys will cooperate. So that's half his movement. That's 25 feet out of 50. So once you hold the Alt key and you start the movement, you don't have to keep holding down the key. And that little spot there is basically where I let go, and that's going to be a basically like a waypoint. And then I'm going to go ahead and approve it, and that moves him to his spot. So he's going to move in front of this Winter Wolf leader and start heading across the bridge. That's about all he can do at this point. Next is Doric. So Doric is a cleric. He recognizes the danger. He says, well, it looks like we got company, boys. So he is going to cast a spell to help the group. So he has 5 slots total. I think he's going to cast Bless at 2nd level because he wants to bless more than 3 people. So he can get 4. So all I have to do is target who he wants to bless. So I think he's going to bless everyone except for Lord Gallimar because he's got his own protections. He's a paladin. I'm going to hold down the right control key, and I'm going to click on all of the targets that I want him to target. So first I select his token. Then I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click on all of the targets that are going to receive the Bless bonus, including himself. So in the combat tracker, it shows you who's all targeted. Again, I'm holding down the right control key. I had to make sure I have the token selected. And then I'm clicking on all of the targets. When I'm done, I have to clear the targets. So for right now, I'm just going to click the heal or the bless thing, which is going to add the bless to all the party members. So once I do that in the combat tracker, it tells me who's all targeted. Now I got to come over here where the targets is, where it says targets, and there's a little clear targets button. I'll do that, and that clears all the targets. So I don't want them targeted the whole time. And then I'm going to have him move over here to the right. So again, I have to hold down the Alt key as the Game Master. He can only move 25 feet, so he's going to move to there. And that's going to be his turn. So he's right out here at the edge of these trees, and he's going to pull out probably his crossbow. Yeah, he's got a light crossbow. And that'll end his turn. So that's basically his turn, and I have to make sure that I manually check off his spell. So I have to check off a 2nd level slot, because that's what I casted at. So that's the spell casting for the Bless. So it's kind of a buff spell. So now I'm going to go to the next actor, or the next player, and it happens to be Shayra. So when I come over here to the right, I'm going to click on this icon that's to the right. That brings up her character sheet. So she has sorcery. She has sorcery points. She also has a longbow. And then she has a few spells at her disposal. So right now she has Fey Ancestry, so I need to activate that, because that's part of her natural racial abilities. And she can have Mask of the Wild, which is hide when lightly obscured. So she's going to hide, kind of kneel down, and kind of use the terrain to her advantage. And then she's going to get ready to cast a spell. So the first spell that she's going to cast is probably, let's see, she's got Firebolt, Mage Hand, Web, Misty Step. She doesn't have a lot of slots. She's got 6 total, and she can also cast the Careful Spell, Empowered Spell, or the Tempestuous Magic spell. which is a bonus action. So those are some of her sorcery things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, she's got Featherfall, Magic Missiles, probably going to prepare a Magic Missile. So if you open up the description, provided you have the content loaded, she can make 3 magical darts. It's 1d4 plus 1. They automatically hit. If she wants to cast at a higher level, she gets 1 extra bolt. And it's 1 action. It's 120 feet. So as a player, she might ask me, well, how far away is the direwolf? So what she can do is first I'm highlighting the token, so I have her selected. I almost had the wrong one. And then recenter the map. It's kind of hard for her to see the direwolf because of the shadow that's being cast here. So she can see this one over here, this wolf over to the right. So she's going to target this one. So I'm going to hold down the right control key and click on the direwolf. And it's about 80 feet away. Gallimar is sort of in her way, but he's not enough to where it's right directly in front. So she can basically target. She can see that one. So she can't see the other ones, but she can see that one. So all I'm going to do is cast this at 2nd level, which I'm going to click on a slot. Just to cast a spell like that at 2nd level, I'm just going to pick this up and right click on it 3 times. That's 4d4 plus 1, and drop it on the wolf. That did a total of 13 points of damage. So on the combat tracker, that wolf is showing 13 points of damage. So he's peppered with these like kind of light blue missiles that shot forward from her hand over to him. So that takes care of her turn. And now that she's been basically, she's not hiding anymore, but she's going to move aside. So again, I'm going to hold down the Alt key. She's going to move over here. She's fanning out to make room and also not to be right in reach of anything that comes across. So once she's done with her turn, she's moved. She did an action. She doesn't really have any bonus actions other than the Tempestuous Magic, which allows her to fly 10 feet, and then she can jump over things, basically. So I'm just going to let her pass her turn. And the next thing is the Winter Wolf. So the Winter Wolf has 50 feet of movement as well, and it has pack tactics, and it is like the leader of this pack. So he's going to move around his inferior guy there, and I'm going to move him. So that's the movement. And with that, I think I have to end his turn because he does have a breath weapon, but it's only 15 feet. So it's not quite enough to reach anybody in the party. So he's just getting closer. So he moved up and ran across. So that's his turn. He has keen hearing, pack tactics, snow camouflage, a bite, and cold breath. All right, Lord Gallimar is going to just stand his ground. So he is going to, instead of running forward and attacking, he's going to pull his shield out. He's going to use his sword one-handed, and he's going to prepare himself. He's going to ready an action. So his action is, if any of these wolves get close, he's just going to stand there and kind of block this and also absorb any attacks that come forward. So his action or trigger is going to be, if anyone gets close to him, he's going to go ahead and do a melee attack. Or if he wanted to, he can shoot his crossbow. I think I'm going to let him just do that. And instead of actually readying an action, what I'll do is have him dodge. So he's going to get ready to move out of the way or do some kind of maneuver. So if I go to his effects, I can clear the ready action. I'm going to do the dodge action. So he's just sitting there in the sprinter's position, ready to go. So he's just waiting to see what happens. And he doesn't want to get in the way. So we'll see what happens. Okay, Zayla is her turn now. She's a little bit concerned about what's going to happen. So she's going to use her Bardic Inspiration. So I want to make sure that she has a Jack of all trades, because that's one of her traits. That also would have given her plus 1 or so on her initiative. So I want to enable that. She has cutting words, but these are werewolf or wolves or whatever, so that's probably not going to really help much. But I'm going to go ahead and use Bardic Inspiration. I'm going to drag the inspiration die onto the Paladin, because she's going to sing a little song or say a little poem or some kind of riddle and try to boost up Galamar's morale. And I'm going to have Galamar roll a d6 when it's his turn and use that as a modifier for his next roll or whenever he wants to use it. So I'm going to do that now. So whenever his turn goes, he'll get a 4. So I drugged the number 4 down into the hotkeys. This is just a raw roll to see what number he can get. I'm only doing this for the sake of the tutorial. If it was a player, I would wait till it was time, then he can roll. So Zayla is basically using her Bardic Inspiration, which is a bonus action. And then she's going to have her Fey Ancestry needs to be activated, because she's a half-elf. And she's going to have a cantrip ready, or maybe Fairy Fire. See what the ratio or the rate is. So Fairy Fire is 60 feet. So maybe she will do that on the Winter Wolf. So I can hold down the right control key. So I want to make sure I have her selected. Then I'm going to hold down the right control key, click on the Winter Wolf. So he has basically enough distance, so it's 45. So she's going to cast Fairy Fire. I'm going to go ahead and take off or use one of her slots. So Fairy Fire is a first level spell. So I'll go ahead and click that. And I'm going to first cast this cast button is based off of the saving throw that you need to perform before you cast it. So if you go in here, it's a DC 10, and that is based off of a dexterity save, basically. So I want to go ahead and drag this over to the direwolf. Yeah, he succeeded. So the spell failed, basically. It didn't work. And then that would have been a concentration spell, or yeah, but it's basically it just didn't work. So that's her turn. And then she can move, so I'm going to move her back 5 feet. All right, so that's her turn. Okay, Figgin is hiding next to her. He is a halfling. If I bring up his character sheet, he has basically the stealth ability, so he's going to hide. I'm going to roll his stealth check. So for his skills, he has stealth. He's got expertise in it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the stealth roll. So you got a total of 14. So the dire wolves and that, I don't think they're higher than that, so they don't notice him. So basically he's hiding. He's going to pull out his bow, and he's going to fire it at one of the wolves, but he's going to do that in his next round. He's just getting set up right now. He also has a ring of free action. So in his inventory, he's got a magic item. And if it goes off, or if he wants to use it, I'll enable it. But right now, I'm going to put the hide action on him and call it good. And his ring of free action doesn't really do anything mechanically for automation. But if he does get a sneak attack, I'd be ready for that. And the free action just gives him the ability to escape different things and move easier. So that's that. So he's basic, and then he has a natural stealthy, which is basically what he's doing. He's hiding next to one of his allies. So that's his turn. So the next is the other direwolf. So if I go to zoom to fit, and I have this guy over here, or this wolf, he's going to move closer. So he's going to move up to his movement, holding down the Alt key. Now he can pass his ally, but he can only go over to the other side at the most. So he's going to be behind. So he can't go any further because he can't end up in that square. So that's going to be his turn. Okay, so this direwolf can go through his allies, but he's going to lose most of his movement because he's going to lose 20 feet. So he's got to kind of squeeze by his allies. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I'm going to move. So he basically gets on the other side of his ally. Dorg is going to see, does he want to do a spell or not? Let's see. He's got heat metal, magic weapon, searing smite. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and do his dwarven resilience. That's poison protection. I think he is going to go over and actually guiding bolt. Good one. Yeah, so I'm going to use guiding bolt. So that's another first level spell, but he's going to cast it at first level. So guiding bolt is a ranged attack. It is got a saving throw. It's based off of, let's see, guiding bolt. It's a ranged attack, is basically. It's not a saving throw. I'm going to have him target the first wolf, or maybe the second one since he's got a better angle. So yeah, he's going to target the leader, and you're going to go ahead and cast it, see if it actually makes it across. So range +4. So guiding bolt. So that hit. So that bless came in handy. And then it kind of just zips across and marks the creature. So I'm going to tag on the damage, which is 4d6 radiant. Wow, I took 18 points of damage, and now I'm going to drag the grant advantage effect, which is going to give people advantage against him because he was lit up basically like a Christmas tree. And then Dorg is going to move over 10 feet. So he doesn't want to get too far away, but he doesn't want to be right up in the middle. So that'll be his turn. Okay, so Shayra is going to do something here. So I think the firebolt worked pretty good. And it's a cantrip, so it's not going to burn up her spell slots. And I think I messed up. Yeah, I didn't check off the spell slot. So just check off the spell slot for Dorg. And I'm going to just use a firebolt spell and cast it on the first wolf. So I'm just going to come over here and target this wolf by holding down the right control key. Got to make sure I have her token selected first. And go ahead and target this one. He's within range. Firebolt's 120. So it looked like it a critical hit. What? And then a miss? I don't get that. How did that happen? So that is messed up. It was, oh, she had advantage, and I don't know what happened, but it just kind of rolled weird. But she had a critical hit, so let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for damage. Just in case, I'm going to come up to the modifiers, and I'm going to click on critical, because I don't know if that came out right, because it had multiple rolls. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the damage. There we go. So the wolf took 7 points of damage. And that was just a cantrip, so it didn't burn up any of her spell slots. So that's pretty good. Alright, so the Winter Wolf is going to complete its turn and move across the bridge. He's got the Paladin there waiting for him. So I'm going to move him as far as he can go. He's going to lose 10 feet because he's got to go around his partner there. Okay, so he's right here in this action. So I want to go ahead and have him make an attack. So he's going to do his bite attack. And if he's successful, then he's going to try to knock the Paladin on his butt. So I'm just going to drag and drop the attack. And that was a miss. So he had disadvantage because of that guiding bolt attack, which is handy. And also Gallimar gets his dodge attack. So if that's another thing that came in handy. And I think he's going to use his Bardic Inspiration. So he's got a 4. So when it comes to his turn, he's going to use the +4 modifier to his attack roll. So I'm going to go ahead and see the wolf moved. He attacked. He missed. That's his turn. I'm going to move this down to Gallimar. Gallimar is going to add the +4. So all I'm going to do is drag the 4 from the hotkeys into the modifier box. Now I'm going to have him make his attack roll off of his sheet. So he's got a sword. It's +1 longsword. It's magic. So he's going to go ahead and swing. If he hits, I'm going to do a divine smite. So we'll see. So that's going to be his divine smite is going to be something that, see, he is a level 2. There's a level 3. So at second level, yeah, so that's first, +8 for, so he only gets first level smite. So, all right, so that's what I'm going to do if he hits. So I'm going to make the attack roll, dump it on the Winter Wolf, plus he's got the +4. So that is definitely a hit. So that +4 came in handy. And now he's going to turn on the smite, which is a 1d additional. It's 2d8 if it's undead, or 1d8 for regular. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the smite, and it's going to roll damage. Youch! So there's 14 points of damage. So that was cool. So the smite and the extra damage, that's really cool. So he got the basically got the benefit of the doubt there. So that really hurt the Winter Wolf. So the Winter Wolf has already taken about maybe almost half of his damage already. So that was pretty good tactics there, I must say. All right, so that's his turn. Zayla is her turn now. She sees the threat of the Winter Wolf. So what I'm going to have her do is probably use her either maybe Thunder Wave, but she might get Gallimar in there, so I don't know. But her idea is to knock this Winter Wolf off of the edge. So I think that'll be a good idea. So she's going to move closer, like maybe another 10 feet. She's going to target the Winter Wolf with her spell, which is Thunder Wave. So if you look at the description, it says you have a thunderous force that sweeps out from you, each creature in a 15-foot cube, originating from where you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, they take thunder damage and they're pushed 10 feet away. So if she pushes him 10 feet, he's going over the edge, potentially. So I'm going to do that. So to know where the area of effect is, I'm going to first right click, go to pointers, and I'm going to draw a square out. So there's a 15-foot square or cube. Basically, that's where it's going. So it's just going to miss Gallimar. And on top of that, she has the Careful spell, so I think if he was in the way, she could probably shape that around him. So she's fine. She doesn't have to worry about Gallimar. So now it's just a matter of targeting the Winterwolf, which she's going to do. And I'm going to cast the saving throw. So if I go to her spell, where that is, which is another first level spell, so I want to check that off. And there's a meta magic that she could probably use if she was a sorceress, so she's not. This is a bard, so I had her mistaken for the other. But nonetheless, she doesn't have to worry. So now I'm going to take the saving throw, which is a Constitution saving throw of 10 or higher. If he saves, he'll take half damage and doesn't get moved. So it'll be 1d8 basically. We'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and cast it. Failed. So now I'm going to cast Thunderwave damage. Alright, so he took 6 points of damage, and he gets knocked 10 feet. So at this angle, he's going to be knocked backwards. He does have a small chance to make a saving throw or something to basically avoid falling, but I doubt he's going to make it. So I'm going to go ahead and move him if he fails. So what I'm going to have him do is just do a regular check. So I'm double-clicking on his token, bringing up his sheet. He has a dexterity of 13. I'm going to have him do a check. If he beats, what was the number that she rolled? If he beats this 14, I guess, no, that's not it. Let's see. I guess if he beats he basically gets over a certain amount, I'll say his dex check is going to be like 15 or higher because he has to go over, he has to basically brace himself and keep from falling over the edge. And they don't have hands, so they can't really grab onto the rope. So this would just allow him to tumble out of the way and tumble, and he'll just get kind of knocked back onto the bridge. So he's going to basically hit some of the rope on his way down. I doubt it, though. It's going to be tough. If he saves, I would be surprised. So I'm going to go ahead and click the check or the save. I'm just going to do a check. So he's going to do a dex check. Oh my god. He rolled a 15, so he doesn't fall. That figures. So I'm going to move him back 10 feet still. So he's going to bowl into his ally there. So this ally will lose movement if he does. So I'm going to move him back 10 feet. So that puts him out of the range of Gallimar, which was kind of nice. And then I will end her turn. So that worked out okay, but I wish it would have pushed him over the edge, but that's all right. Good try. All right, so that was Zayla, by the way, so that should have been here. So I was using Shayra instead of Zayla. So Figgin is now into a point where he can do the sneak attack. So he basically was behind Zayla, and he would have been with her. So I will move him there. I'm kind of cheating, but basically he's next to her. That's the only way he could actually perform this thing for hiding. And then I'm going to go ahead and move him back to over here. He's next to Zayla. I'm going to have him do his sneak attack. So he's actually he's no longer hiding, but he was. So he's in a good position. He's not noticed. So he's going to target. First, I want to select his token. Then I'm going to target the Winterwolf. And I'm going to do the attack roll with his short bow. And that's a 15, so that hits. So that that bow comes up, you hear a click, and then the bolt goes and hits the Winter Wolf. So now I'm going to apply the sneak attack damage. And when I roll damage, it'll add that in. And it expires when it's done. So he did 12 points of damage. So that Winter Wolf is hurting pretty bad. But he's got a nasty little surprise, so we'll see. So the next Direwolf goes. So he's going to move up, but he can't really go in much further. So he's just going to move up there. You look at this movement first. Yeah, he can't move up. So he's stuck there because he can't end up on top of this other wolf. So that's as far as he can move. So that's his turn. But he gets pack tactics because he's got allies next to him. So I got to remember that for the Winter Wolf. Okay, so the Dire Wolf just went. And now it's the other one. Okay, so he can move up. So I'm going to have him move around. So he's going to move up. All right. So he can. Let's see. Okay, he's in range, so he can attack Zayla, or he can attack Lord Gallimar. So I'm going to say 1 to 4, he attacks Gallimar. 5 to 6, he attacks Zayla. Zayla's kind of in a weird spot for him. Yeah, so he attacks Gallimar, which makes more sense. So, with that in mind, he has pack tactics. So with pack tactics, he gets advantage on attack rolls because he's next to an ally. I have to click ADV, which is advantage, and I'm going to perform the attack roll against Gallimar. So he hit Gallimar, and so he basically jumped up and he tried to bite him, and he takes a chomp out of him. He's probably grabbed his arm and is pulling him down. So now Gallimar has to make a saving throw for a strength check. And he succeeded. So he was able to withstand the wolf trying to drag him down to the ground. So he's not going to be prone. So that's basically the turn of the dire wolf. And now it's Doric's turn. Hey, thank you for teaching us. Yeah, no problem, man. I'm just kind of going through and showing people how to a good way to do it. All right, so the dire wolf is now going to pass his turn, Doric's turn. So Doric is basically a little bit concerned, but he's going to just go ahead and take his crossbow and shoot it at the dire wolf. So I'm just going to drag and drop it onto the dire wolf. So that scores a hit. So you just click, and he basically connects with the dire wolf. And he does 7 points of damage. So that bolt comes barreling through, cuts through the side of the bridge there, and just goes right into his hide. So that dog or that wolf goes, "Arr!" So he's hurting. So that's basically Doric's turn, but he's going to move closer. So he moved there so that he can protect Zayla and in case he needs to heal. And he's not a chicken, so he's good to go. So he had someone targeted, so I can get rid of this shape here. So if I go to pointers, go to remove pointers. There we go. So I don't need that anymore. And then that's going to be the Doric's turn. So he moved, he shot his bow. Does he have any bonus actions? He has a Searing Smite, but I don't think he's going to use that yet. Yeah, I don't see any reason for it. Although, he does have a cantrip of guidance. Who might use that next. We'll see. Okay, Shayra. So Shayra's turn. So she had that last tactic. I kind of liked it. It made sense. Maybe she's going to try it again. I know this guy is in the right position, so I don't need to draw the area of effect. But I'm going to have her try to blast the dire wolf off the edge. So I'm going to untarget both of these wolves and just target this one. And now I'm going to have her cast the same spell. So it didn't really work out too well the first time. And I don't even know if she has that spell. No. So what I'm going to do is just magic missile. So I'm going to do 3 magic missiles. Yeah, so she's got plenty of slots. So I'll do magic missile. And I'm just going to cast 3 of them. So just pick it up, right click. That adds 3 dice instead of dragging it over 3 times. There we go. So she did 7 points of damage to that direwolf. So that's pretty good. So that was her turn. I think she's going to move back another 10 feet. And that's her turn. So that will end that. She doesn't really have too many other bonus actions that she can perform that would make sense. So I'll call it good. Okay, so the Winter Wolf, this time, since he's hurt right now, he's down over half of his hit points. He's going to use his breath weapon. He has a cold breath weapon. It has a saving throw, dex save, or half damage. And then it has a recharge on it. So if he rolls a 5 or higher, it will recharge. So I'm going to go ahead and have him target everyone. It's a 15-foot cone. So centering from his square here. So I'm going to right-click on the map, go to pointers, grab the cone, draw this out 15 feet. All right, so he doesn't care about his minion. So I'm going to target all of these individuals, including his own wolf friend. But the dire wolf will probably be okay, but he doesn't care. He's pissed. So I'm going to target all of these. So I want to make sure I have the wolf selected. And then I'm going to target all the different creatures that are in the area of effect. Okay, so everything's targeted. Now I'm going to roll the saving throw, which is going to handle all of that at once. Okay, so success, success, success. Looks like everyone but Zayla succeeded. And now I'm going to roll the damage. Ouch. So Dorig saved on his concentration save, or whatever that was for. It was a concentration effect. Oh, because he has bless. And the wolf has used his breath weapon. And he did a little bit of damage. I mean, Zayla's hurt pretty bad. Yeah, she's at 19. So she's pretty banged up. So she screams in agony as that frost kind of courses through her bones. It's horrible. And she has a little blood splatter. I have she's got a little bit of damage on her, so she's hurt. Maybe she's got a bloody nose or something, but the force of that and the cold just froze her nostrils and her lungs. So she's like coughing and she's really, really hurt. So she's screaming in agony. Okay, so Galamar's had enough, so he's going to raise his shield, come down with his blade on the direwolf. He's going to do a divine smite again if he's successful. I think he gets a couple of these. So this will be a second one. So he's used up a couple spell slots. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So he's got divine health. I forgot about that. Or he could do lay on hands. So maybe he will lay on hands instead. So he could move over and heal her, but I don't know. I think he would just attack, try to hold the line. So he's going to go ahead and do that. So want to make sure that he doesn't have anything else targeted. Doesn't look like it. Let me check. No targets. So all his targets are clear. So I'm going to go ahead and just attack this direwolf with this blade. And he rolled a 20. So this would be a perfect time for a divine smite. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. So I think this is his last use for it, or he's using a slot, one or the other. And now I'm going to roll the damage. This is going to be brutal. Oh yeah. So that dire wolf, just instant death. It's dying. It actually has this little tombstone here. So it's gone. So he took that out in one blow. So then he's going to move up. So I'm going to move the dire wolf out of the way, the token. So on the combat tracker, where it says direwolf 2, it's unconscious. So I'm just going to move it. So I'm going to delete the item by double clicking on this little red circle. And then I'm going to move up Galamar holding the Alt key. And he's just going to hang out there with the shield. And then I'm going to remove the breath weapon pointer. I don't need that anymore. All right, so I'll approve the movement. That's so we can block the Winter Wolf from moving any further. Zayla saved, death save. Looks like she actually had died, so she made her first successful check. So Zayla went down. I didn't realize that. Yeah, she's got that blood splatter. Okay, so Figgin is going to move back, but at an angle. And he's going to shoot from a distance with his crossbow again. Doesn't have anything to hide behind or anything, so this is going to be a regular attack, so it's just actually a short bow. But he already has that wolf targeted, the winter wolf. So I'm just going to double click. And that scores a hit with his bonus and the bless spell. And he does 9 points of damage. So that was good. Good job there, buddy. Okay, so the other direwolf, he now has a little bit more room. But he can't land on any of these other squares. So I want to take a look at his movement. Actually, he can land there. So he jumps into the midst of the party. He's going to attack the Dorig here. So he has pack tactics, but he's not next to his Winterwolf friend, so that doesn't count. So no advantage, but he's still going to attack. Yeah, he rolled a 1. So what's going to happen there is he just loses his turn. He loses his attacks. His turn's over. And I'm going to give him disadvantage on his next attack, just because he kind of jumped and he slid. So he's almost like knocked himself down. That's what you get for being overzealous. Okay, so Dorig has this wolf in his face. So I think what he's going to do is a Searing Smite. Yeah, so it does fire damage. I don't know, maybe not. I think what he'll do is Sacred Flame. That's a cantrip. That doesn't do enough damage. Spiritual Hammer. That might be something you'd want to do as a bonus action. So what I'm going to do is actually summon the Spiritual Hammer and attack with that. So just going to right click, add a pointer, just draw a little circle. So the Spiritual Hammer's here. So that's the Spiritual Hammer. So with that, he casts the spell, he can attack with the Spiritual Hammer. And that is a... Spiritual Hammer is actually a second level. So he's used both his second level slots, and he's going to put on the effect, which is going to just denote that he has the Spiritual Hammer active. So where did it go? Oh. That's because I checked it off before I was done with it. Okay. So it's a... There's the effect for self. It's a bonus action, so I'm going to have him cast it, and it's going to thump the direwolf from behind. And it missed, of course. But he still has a regular action. So he's going to take his Warhammer and thump this direwolf. And this time he connects. And he does a total of 5 points of damage. So that's not too bad. So Dorig is still in the running here. Okay, Shayra. I just want a little bit. Okay, let's see. Shayra is basically concerned about her friend over there and Dorig. So she's going to have to do something drastic here. So I think... Well, she has a longbow. And she has a second level slot. All right, 4 magic missiles. $12 points. So that takes hers out. The direwolf has heavy damage. So he's just about done, which is good. So that's her turn. Pass her turn. The cold breath did not recharge, thank God. And he's going to just attack the Lord Gallimar. So he hops up and tries to knock him down, but it misses. So Gallimar kind of pulls his shield up and kind of lets him slide off his shield and is able to basically get out of that. And he had Selah targeted, so I untargeted her just in case. So that's his turn. He could move forward, but he's actually engaged with Lord Gallimar, so stay there. Okay, Gallimar. I think he's gonna be smart this time, and let's take a look. So I think lay on hands, maybe to himself or to Dorig. I think he's going to do it to himself because he's got to be able to hang in there. Half his hit points are gone. So he's going to do lay on hands to himself. So he prays to his god, and it ends up healing him pretty all the way. He's got like, yeah, so he's good. And then I think he's going to move over 1 square. And that's going to be his turn. Zayla made her second death save, so that's a good sign. And now it's Figgin's turn. So Figgin is going to target the wolf and just use his bow to try to finish it off. He sees it's limping around and it's wounded. So he's going to take the opportunity. Figgin was able to connect, so that arrow goes flying out and the shaft of it just buries itself into the hindquarters of this dire wolf. And all right, so he killed that dire wolf. You can see the gravestone there. So I'm going to go ahead and move the dire wolf off of the combat tracker just so it's not a big mess. And Figgin is going to move up a little, or move over. So he's going to move diagonally to there, so he's kind of out of sight. And he's going to make his way over to Zayla. And he's going to start trying to take a look at her. He's going to do a medicine check later and see if he can help slow the bleeding down. He's worried about her, so he's kneeling down and kind of protecting her, making sure nobody gets close to her. So that's his turn. So Dorig is going to turn around and kneel down and heal Zayla. He's like, don't worry, I got him, Figgin. So he turns around, he already used the 2nd level spell, but I have it up for the spiritual hammer. So I'm gonna have him move the hammer over, and it's going to attack the winter wolf. And then the spell that he wants to use is going to be let's go with the Cure Wounds 1d8 plus 2. All right. So she's now feeling a little better. She's kind of groggy, but she's waking up. And she's like, oh my god, thank you. She's like really thankful. And I just checked off his 1st level spell slot. He says, I thought you were a goner. And he says, thank the gods. So he worships the god of the forge. So on his notes, I should have put that on there, but I didn't pick any god. Maybe it's Dumathoin or one of the gods of the forge, basically. So he's the clan crafter when he's not fighting. And I think that's his turn. So he might move actually to there, and then he can direct this attack from his spell. So if I come down here to the spiritual weapon, which is a bonus action, you got an 18 for hit, so that works this time. And it does 7 points of damage to the winter wolf, which is really good. So that's not bad for the cleric. Okay, so Shayra is going to basically open up and use a spell. So I think I'm going to use another magic missile because that really does the trick. But this time she only gets 3. So she did 8 points of damage. Takes another one of her spell slots. And that's her turn, basically. She's going to stay put. She doesn't want to get in danger or get in the way. Ah, crap. The Winter Wolf recharged his breath weapon. So I don't really know exactly what it would do, or if it would even know that its breath weapon recharged. So I would say on a 1 or 2, he will use his breath weapon. On a 3 to 6, he's just going to use a bite attack. Yeah, so on the next round, he can definitely use it. So it's recharged, though, and he's going to take the attack action on the Paladin. And he missed. So he jumps forward, and the Paladin blocks him with the shield and kind of goes up and around. So it doesn't really do any damage to him or anything. Tries to knock him off his feet, but Gallimar is pretty tough. So okay, so Zayla is feeling a little bit better, but she's going to get out of here. So I'm going to have her move away. So she's going to move here to the edge of the map. She's got the Winter Wolf targeted, so I'm going to untarget it. She's going to use another one of her, what do you call it, the Zayla. I'm going to use her Bardic Inspiration again. So I'll roll the d6. It's a 4 again. So that's going to go to Gallimar when she gets a chance. So that's her turn. So she moved, and she's saying, "Come on, Gallimar." And she's kind of limping out of the way, and Dorg says, "Watch yourself." So Gallimar's turn. So I'm going to use that +4 on his modifier. +4 to hit. All right. So now I'm going to do his melee attack with his blade again. And I'm going to use... He's already did that. So yeah, he's just going to do a regular attack. So that was a hit. That rolled a 19. That was a pretty good swing. So he just kind of just rams the direwolf with his shield and kind of blocks him, and then he does a counter strike and kind of like impales the Winter Wolf with the sword. We'll see what happens. Yep. So he defeated the Winter Wolf just like that. So he runs the blade through it. All this kind of dark red, black ichor starts coming out of it. It's laying there dead on the bridge. It's got all this blood coming out of it, spurting out of it. So basically, the party has survived the encounter. So I'll go through and have Figgin move towards Zayla and find out if she's okay.